Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. I'm super excited you're here today because we're going to dive into a topic that is literally dominating every single boardroom, break room, and news feed right now. We're going on a bit of a journey to demystify how artificial intelligence is actually reshaping our jobs, our businesses, and the global economy. Basically, we're going to separate the hype from the reality, and we're going to use hard data to do it.
Now I want to kick things off and hook your attention right out of the gate with a massive number, 40%. Recent randomized experiments found that everyday professionals using generative AI tools are seeing up to a 40% reduction in the time it takes them to complete their tasks. That's almost half their day back. And the crazy part? They're doing it with higher quality. Look, this isn't science fiction anymore. This is happening right now on factory floors and customer support centers and in accounting firms all over the world.
So here's our roadmap for the explainer today. 1. The great AI jobs debate. 2. Building new professional skills. 3. The new startup boom. 4. Decoding the economic forecasts. 5. Smart rules for AI growth. And 6. The long-term global outlook. Let's get right into it.
Part 1. The Great AI Jobs Debate. Disruption versus assistance.
Okay, let's just address the elephant in the room right away, right? The widespread fear of mass job replacement. It's everywhere. And current data does show that roughly 80% of US workers have at least 10% of their tasks exposed to AI. But here's the thing, exposure absolutely does not mean unemployment. The empirical evidence we actually have right now shows AI acting primarily as this powerful tool for task assistance, not as an immediate job killer. What we're really seeing is adjustment and task reallocation rather than mass economy-wide layoffs.
Moving on to part 2, building new professional skills and leveling the playing field.
So, if it isn't replacing everyone, what exactly is it doing? Well, a crucial point here revolves around a concept called skill compression. It's a bit of a buzzword, but it basically means AI is disproportionately boosting the performance of less experienced or lower skilled workers. Think about it like this. AI models are trained on vast amounts of data, effectively capturing the absolute best practices of top performers. So when a junior worker uses AI, it acts as a great equalizer. It helps them learn and apply those best practices incredibly fast, which rapidly narrows the gap between the rookies and the tenured veteran.
To really put this into perspective, real-world data from a study of customer support agents shows these massive productivity gains are highly concentrated right at the entry level. The bottom quintile of workers saw a staggering 35% gain in productivity. Average workers saw about a 14% gain. And the top performers? Well, they actually saw minimal gains, mostly because they were already operating at peak efficiency anyway. It's fascinating. AI is radically reshaping human capital by essentially pulling the bottom up.
Now, I know it sounds like magic, but it's not totally seamless just yet. When corporate executives are surveyed on why they aren't adopting AI faster, the results reveal something really interesting. What leads the pack? An untrained workforce and privacy concerns. The real barrier to an AI-powered economy isn't just the raw capability of the technology itself. It's actually a lack of internal training and clear data policies. Basically, if you don't train your workers on how to use it, that productivity magic simply doesn't happen.
Which brings us to part 3. The new startup boom, or as I like to think of it, the virtual co-founder.
You see, AI is drastically lowering what economists call the minimum viable scale. That's just the absolute smallest size a business needs to be to actually operate efficiently and compete in the market. Because generative AI can step into, write code, draft marketing copy, and handle routine accounting, it acts just like a virtual co-founder. And it's one that doesn't demand equity or take coffee breaks. It's substituting for all those managerial and technical tasks that used to require a massive initial budget and extra hires, which means smaller, leaner teams can launch and compete almost immediately.
And established businesses? Oh, they are definitely seeing this potential too. Survey data shows planned AI investments jumping aggressively from 2025 into 2026. We are talking across the board. Manufacturing, low-skill services, high-skill services, finance, firms are scaling their AI investments big time. They know they have to fundamentally upgrade their workflows to remain competitive against these super lean AI-powered newcomers. Let's dive into part 4, decoding the economic forecasts and why economists disagree.
Now, with all these individual and business gains, you'd think the macroeconomic picture would be crystal clear, right? Well, actually, we have some incredibly smart people making wildly different predictions. On the conservative side, some models predict less than a 1% growth in overall productivity over the next decade. They're mainly focusing on the fact that AI can currently only handle a pretty limited slice of verifiable tasks. But then on the optimistic side,
Models project up to a 15% bump in labor productivity. That's trillions of dollars added to global output, assuming widespread and seamless adoption.
So, why the massive gap between these experts? It's really critical to understand that these economists aren't looking at conflicting raw data. They're just making different assumptions about future investment and human behavior. The conservative forecasts assume we're going to be pretty slow to change how we work. The optimistic forecasts, on the other hand, assume companies will aggressively redesign their entire organizations, rethink their supply chains, and invest heavily in training to squeeze every drop of value out of what AI can do.
This brings up a brilliant concept, the productivity J-curve. History shows us that whenever we introduce major general-purpose technologies like electricity or computers, measured productivity actually appears to slow down at first. That's the downward dip in the letter J. Why does that happen? Because companies are spending time and money buying software, restructuring, and retraining their workers. None of that instantly shows up as higher output. So we might experience these short-term, temporary growing pains and restructuring costs before the curve finally shoots upward into massive long-term GDP gains.
And this whole historical transition period raises a pretty vital question for all of us. As this tech explodes, do we need brand new, complex laws to control AI right now? That takes us to part 5, smart rules for AI growth and the idea of strategic forbearance. Listen, how we regulate this is going to completely determine who actually gets to participate in the boom. Many economic and legal experts are currently advocating for a concept called strategic forbearance. Essentially, this means relying on the solid, existing, technology-neutral laws we already have on the books to govern AI, rather than rushing out in a panic to write highly specific, fragmented new mandates before we even fully understand the technology. The goal here is to manage the real risks without accidentally crushing those lean, small startups we talked about earlier.
Here is the economic trade-off at play. We already have very robust consumer protection, civil rights, and product liability laws. These make fraud and discrimination entirely illegal, right? Whether it's done by a human or a computer. Relying on those existing frameworks prevents a messy, fragmented patchwork of state or international AI laws. Because if every jurisdiction creates totally different, highly complex AI rules, the legal and compliance overhead becomes a massive barrier to entry. Large monopolies can absolutely afford armies of compliance lawyers, but the lean startup with the virtual co-founder, they just can't.
Finally, part 6, the long-term global outlook. This is a truly historic shift.
So, where's all of this structural shifting ultimately leading us? Well, when you look past the immediate disruption we're feeling right now, the long-term horizon is literally staggering. We are talking about trillions of dollars in potential global GDP growth. But more profoundly than that, AI isn't just about answering customer support emails a little bit faster. When deployed fully, it has the potential to accelerate the actual process of scientific discovery and research and development. If AI helps us invent better materials, new medicines, and cleaner energy faster, it could literally transition our global economy to a permanently higher self-sustaining growth rate.
A recent report from McKinsey perfectly captures this moment. They wrote, "All of us are at the beginning of a journey. The next several years will take us on a roller coaster ride featuring fast-paced innovation." They completely hit the nail on the head. We are living through a historic, fast-paced technological shift, easily on par with the dawn of the internet or even electricity.
Which leaves us with one final, absolutely critical question for you to take away from this explainer today. Knowing that AI is a tool for skill compression, a virtual co-founder, and a massive driver of long-term economic growth, how will you adapt your own skills and workflow for the AI-powered economy? The data is crystal clear. The biggest risk isn't AI replacing you. It's someone else who knows how to use AI replacing you. It's time to stop worrying about the robots and start focusing on how you'll use them to empower yourself. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning out there.